Story 1. I get one streaming platform per month, skip a month, then go to a different service. I don't need 12 months of something to keep up with a story. I need only a month each year to keep up with Star Wars. The cost increase is nothing to me, as I refuse to make it a habit. Story 2. Maybe it's time to cancel Netflix or another streaming service. I'm getting ads, shows have been removed, and there has been a price increase. It's starting to feel ridiculous. Story 3. Ads. I want to log into my Netflix when I stay with my family, and they mess up my account for a month. Story 4. I stopped paying for streaming services once they introduced advertisements. If I wanted advertisements, I would have cable. I returned to pirating because the cost increases will never stop, and the entertainment industry is already making excessive amounts of money that are unjustified. I do not want to contribute to that anymore. Story 5. It's similar to when your rent goes up. Do I really even like this place? In my case, my internet and streaming service fees increased in the same week, so I canceled both. Story 6. I have never been able to justify paying for any streaming services other than Spotify, since I do not watch television or movies often enough to justify the price. I do watch YouTube occasionally, but that is it. Story 7. When they removed the $9.99 option last summer, I left and haven't missed it. I don't want ads, and I don't need 4K or multiple devices. It's just me. Why must everything be subpar or premium? I want my normal, good enough middle ground. Story 8. The only streaming service I use on a weekly basis is HBO Max, which has a history of creating excellent shows in various genres. That is why I keep it. I subscribe to Netflix for about 3 months out of the year to catch up on shows and rewatch old ones, but I eventually cancel it. Most recently, I canceled it after they emailed me about a price increase. A price increase or reduced quality for the price I am already paying is the best way to ensure I discontinue your service. Story 9. Anything with advertisements is a non-starter. I also won't pay for a service I'm not actively watching. I'm subscribed to Disney Plus, mainly for my child. I've enjoyed building a physical media collection again because it's very affordable. Story 10. I canceled my subscription, and now I access their content without paying. If they are going to charge me, then I will find a way to access their library. Story 11. Right now, I am watching Black Mirror in Love, Death and Robots, but as soon as I finish Love, Death and Robots, I will cancel my subscription. Story 12. Whether or not they still have things I want to watch. Price increases just make me reconsider whether I need them. Story 13. With Netflix specifically, I canceled after noticing them raising rates after record-breaking profits. I wasn't using it much, so it was an easy decision, which leads me to my next point. I consider my average weekly usage of a streaming platform. If I'm not logging in at least once a week, I cancel the service. It's all about using it in the moment for me. Story 14. Netflix raised their prices, so I canceled my subscription. They have increased their prices a couple more times since. Disney raised their prices as well, so I canceled them too. I feel like I am destined to work on a pirate ship one day. I just know it. Story 15. Netflix is a disappointing platform due to its numerous canceled television series. If they could commit to completing an original series, I would consider subscribing again. Story 16. I have been using Netflix since it launched. Their content has declined, and they signed a deal with World Wrestling Entertainment, which I consider problematic. I am done with Netflix. Story 17. It's frustrating every time I'm looking for a movie that Netflix doesn't have. Now I just use DVDs and borrow them for free at the library. Story 18. Tariffs and Trump's bullying of Canada for whatever reason goes through his mind. I stopped spending on US-based companies. Story 19. Break down usage per month and cancel up to 4 services based on actual monthly viewing time and upcoming releases. This is being done with my family as we share options or expand with multiple users. Each has one of the major streaming platforms. Story 20. I think the last time I had Netflix was 5 years ago. Even the people I know who have paid streaming services do not watch anything new. Internet TV and free sites have a good selection of older shows, And anything else I need to watch, I can find for free or wait a couple of years because people still talk about those shows and movies. Story 21. The quality of content. I canceled Netflix after the last price increase because the content I was receiving was no longer worth it. The shows I enjoyed are moving to other platforms. I am still willing to pay for Apple TV solely for Severance. Story 22. Do they currently have anything good to watch? If not, then I am paying extra for nothing, and that does not sit well with me. Story 23. The only subscription I keep is Disney Plus because I have a grandchild and receive credit back with my American Express card. Everything else gets canceled when there isn't anything that interests me currently or in the near future. I recently resubscribed to Netflix after a couple of years, will catch up on a few shows, and then probably cancel again for another couple of years. Story 24. Honestly, I gradually got used to advertisements from other streaming services that I encountered through promotions. I have always paid full price for top-tier Netflix since 2014 and have been gradually reducing my tier with each price increase. Of all the services I have always preferred ad-free Netflix, but I refuse to spend over $20 per month for it. Now I use the ad breaks to check my phone or grab something from the kitchen. I refuse to pay attention to the advertisements and let the companies succeed out of pure spite. Story 25. We should plan a mass unsubscribe. If more than 10% of subscribers leave the day after the price increase, someone on the analytics team will panic. Story 26. I only keep the ones I've been watching recently. If needed, I'll just subscribe to the service again. I'm down to 3 total: Netflix, Peacock, and Amazon. I have the cheapest versions of them. I keep Amazon because I buy movies often. I also have Apple TV, but that's because I bundled it, so it costs $20 for streaming TV, music, and games, I think. Story 27. I left Netflix after they started restricting content on their ad-supported plan. I am on a fixed income, and it made me feel punished for that. Story 28. How much I actually use it. If I am not actively watching anything on the service and do not find myself browsing often, I will cancel it. There is no use paying for things I am not using. Additionally, if a service I pay for has the shows I want to watch but charges an additional fee or requires a higher tier of service to access them, I will cancel on principle. What am I even paying for then? Story 29. It's all about price for me. I appreciate when I cancel a subscription and they come back with a great deal. Paramount Plus and Peacock do this frequently. Otherwise, most streaming services do not have enough good shows to retain viewers long-term, and most of them include commercials. Story 30. How often do I use the service, and do they have a good selection of content I enjoy? Years ago, Netflix removed all of my favorite shows and movies and then raised the price. I canceled my subscription and never returned. Story 31. I got Netflix because it provided a convenient place to watch everything I wanted, without delays or annoyances. Nowadays, I need 7 different services to do the same, and they are all too expensive for what they individually offer. So I no longer subscribe to any of them. Story 32. Netflix has increased prices consistently every year, sometimes more than once a year, since they started. Story 33. The convenience of having something for my wife and children to watch is important. If it were completely up to me, I would be back on the open water, but I need something for them that functions seamlessly without any setup. Story 34. There are many factors that determine if I feel it's worth it to subscribe or continue my subscription. However, one factor will absolutely make me cancel: advertisements. I strongly dislike ads, even if they are promoting the service itself. If they include any ads, I will cancel immediately and not return. Story 35. I review my annual budget and input the new figure. This indicates how much it will affect my numbers for the year. Then I decide if it can be accommodated and is still worthwhile, or if I would prefer to cancel. Story 36. Cost versus value. Do I feel I am receiving worthwhile value? Yes, keep it. No, cancel it. I canceled Netflix a long time ago because I did not watch it enough to warrant the subscription. Story 37. Logging into the browser and canceling is tedious. I know they designed it that way, but it benefits them. Story 38. Browse through all the streaming services that interest you one at a time. When you have watched everything you want, cancel or suspend the service and move on. Not only does this artificially limit your options, making you watch shows you might be interested in one day, but you will also find that you are watching less television. Story 39. I canceled Netflix when they removed multiple houses. Who sells a service for 4 TVs at 4K and expects us to believe it was intended for 4 TVs in the same household to be used simultaneously? Absolutely not. Story 40. If I watched enough of the service in the past 3 months, specifically at least 20 hours, I will keep the subscription. Otherwise, I will cancel for now and resubscribe when a certain show I enjoy returns. Story 41. I just want one service for a couple of months to watch the things I like and rotate through them. Even with price increases, I have plenty of content to enjoy each month. Story 42. Netflix, because it became unreasonable with the one-screen limitation. Discovery Plus, because I wasn't really watching it. Story 43. The only streaming service I pay for is YouTube Premium. It is very useful for how I use YouTube. Everything else is easy enough to find elsewhere. Story 44. I started the pay-for-one service, cancel and get another one approach about 3 years ago. It's great. I have tried many services as a result, taking advantage of their new user offers. I don't pay for more than one service at a time. I watch everything I want and then switch. It costs nothing to cancel and nothing to sign up again. They all have sign-up or return offers, making it even more affordable. Story 45. I will subscribe to support the shows I want made. I wish I could have done this in the past for Game of Thrones. I just subscribe to Disney for Ander. I leave when there is not much to watch. Story 46. Most streaming services consist of 45% content I find undesirable, 45% content I don't want to watch, and only 10% content that is enjoyable a few times a year or gets canceled. In my opinion, they are not worth the price. Story 47. Technically, I pay for 2 services, YouTube TV and Hulu with Disney Plus, which costs around $10. YouTube TV is roughly 20% more than what I originally paid, but it's still cheaper than cable for my mother. Netflix is included with my T-Mobile service, so it doesn't cost me anything. Once they no longer want to pay, goodbye to Netflix. Story 48. The main factor is how much I actually use it. I generally do not spend time on things I do not enjoy, so if I find myself rarely using a service, there is no point in keeping it. I canceled my subscription to the streaming service due to their policy on account sharing. Story 49. Netflix is causing concern as they are not paying their workers on several shows that have been canceled. We're talking millions of dollars on significant productions. Some celebrities associated with these failed projects are embarrassed by how Netflix has treated those behind the scenes and are attempting to cover the costs out of their own pockets. Good times. Privatize the gains, socialize the losses. Story 50. I discontinued Netflix as I don't find it worth it as a constant platform. I have Amazon Prime with AMC Plus, Paramount Plus, the budget version, and the Disney and Hulu bundle. I am considering an external HD antenna for free channels. Story 51. Personally, the cancellation of multiple shows with incomplete character arcs and the decision to include advertisements, along with multiple price increases, have led me to cancel other services for similar reasons. Why should I invest my time in a show and feel connected to the characters when I have to sit through advertisements, especially when I could read a book or engage in a more rewarding hobby? Story 52. Everyone answering here is providing these streaming companies with free feedback to use against us. I can foresee how they will utilize this data to make the experience even more insufferable. Boycott. Story 53. I canceled Netflix specifically because I find it nauseating the price they want me to pay for canceling amazing shows one after another after only one season. I feel my viewership doesn't matter there. Does it anywhere these days? Story 54. I often get frustrated when the content I want to watch isn't available on the service. This is the main factor for me. If it doesn't have most of what I want to see, then I won't continue my subscription. That's why I stopped using Netflix a long time ago. Story 55. I have a family of 4. We all watch different content. I need the highest plan with ultra high definition and 4 screens so we can all enjoy Netflix at the same time. A couple of years ago, the price in my area increased from $14.99 to $22.99, over a 50% increase. That was enough for us to cancel permanently. They priced me out, and instead of paying for their service, I now enjoy it through other means for any Netflix exclusive show I want to watch. Story 56. How much do I want it to cost, considering if there is any good content available, and what else I could do with that money or time? Story 57. I evaluate how often I use the service compared to the price. If I used it every single day like I do with Crunchyroll, I could justify paying for Netflix or Hulu's prices. However, I rarely used them, so I canceled my subscriptions. Story 58. How much do I use it? What am I watching now? I switch between streaming services because it is too expensive to have them all at once. Story 59. The ease of access still outweighs the cost increase for me at this point. I watch about 2 shows and maybe a movie occasionally. It is worth keeping the subscription for now. If the price increases to over $30, I will probably cancel it on principle alone. Story 60. If I see an advertisement on any paid service, I cancel it. Regarding pricing, I consider the cost in relation to the hours I use the platform. Am I using the platform enough that it averages a few hours per dollar it costs? That's why I only subscribe to Crunchyroll and Amazon Prime. I don't watch enough Netflix to justify the expense. Story 61. Mainly, I appreciate not being tied to a specific service. No one offers discounts for long-term subscriptions. I switch between services every few months and utilize their libraries. Story 62. When you begin to question its value for what you pay, it is probably not worth it anymore. I canceled Netflix years ago. Story 63. I realized that I didn't find any of the shows on Netflix appealing, so I canceled my subscription. I haven't missed it. Story 64. I have a rude boss at the office and no job security because of him, which means I have to cut down on Netflix. That's a valid reason, isn't it? Story 65. It's like $2 a month. Did you stop buying groceries or go to restaurants because prices went up? I know television isn't as important as food, but it's strange how people react strongly to a small increase in cost. Is it really that big of a deal? If you think it's not worth paying for, then great, cancel it. I just don't understand how something that costs $10 a month isn't worth $12 a month. If you can't afford a small increase, you're probably better off without it anyway. Story 66. How many shows do I really watch on Netflix? Ask that question to yourself. At the time, I said almost none, so I canceled it and haven't regretted it since. Story 67. I paid for Netflix to watch all of Stranger Things, Season 2 the day it was released, and then promptly canceled my subscription. I could have waited 24 hours for the unofficial sites to upload it, but I was too excited, so I paid for the service. I did the same for Season 3. However, by Season 4, I chose to wait for the unofficial sites. I prefer to get my entertainment for free whenever possible, as long as I'm patient. Story 68. I realized that downloading shows and watching them on my laptop connected to my PC was not as annoying as the constant rate increases. Story 69. If I'm not watching it every day or multiple times a week, I remove it and resubscribe when it has something I want to see. Story 70. Real talk. Everyone's main question should be, how many shows do I actually watch on this service? Many people subscribe to streaming services for 1 or 2 shows and then completely neglect using them while the shows are on hiatus. Additionally, they complain about being broke while simultaneously paying for multiple streaming services. That said, for me, a price increase on anything makes me think, okay, but what am I getting out of this? Many prices rise for little to no reason, leaving consumers with nothing to show for it. For example, our local dollar store increased its prices to $1.25 a few years back, yet the store remained in poor condition. About a year later, they used the not a dollar excuse to justify stocking more expensive items, resulting in shelves with $5 and $3 items. At that point, there was no reason to shop there. In summary, if something's price increases, there better be a good reason for it or I will drop it. Story 71. I have been sailing the high seas for a while, and the quality and ease of use are better than actually paying for content. With the cost of living being what it is for me, it's a no-brainer and I won't be going back. Story 72. Entertainment versus hunger, food, gas for transportation, utilities like water and electricity, thirst for water or beer. Keeping a job means going to sleep early instead of staying up late and waking up late. What about a wage increase? Story 73. I pay for the content I want to watch. If it is not available, I do not pay. If there is not enough content for the price, I resort to piracy. Story 74. Every time I receive a price increase, I cancel the service. It continues for 30 days. After that period, I decide whether I want to pay the new price. This approach compels me to make a decision without the service, turning it into the question of whether I want to spend a specific amount today to restart it. So, just cancel immediately. Even if you renew the very next day, it will still disrupt their data and indicate that price increases lead to cancellations. Story 75. Frequency of use and available content. I don't have time to watch shows, so I decided to cancel. When I went on holiday, I paid for 1 month and canceled again. I do not want to pay for something that I do not use. Story 76. Factors such as content quality, frequency of new releases, alternative streaming options, and my usage all play a role. If the price increase is not justified by the value I receive, I would cancel. Story 77. I'm close to canceling now. They keep blocking my dad, who uses Netflix about once a month and lives just a few minutes from me. I pay for the top-tier subscription since I want 4K and so on. If we used Netflix constantly, I might understand their reasoning, but we don't, and it can go for days without being used at all. We never play on more than one device at a time. Now I'm contemplating setting up a VPN to connect my dad's Chromecast through my connection. However, researching this made me consider setting up a network-attached storage device with Jellyfin and possibly some Usenet downloading, so I may not need streaming services anymore. Usenet is not free, but that, along with a server with drives, will still be cheaper fairly quickly. Story 78. It was the playing videos that disrupted the experience whenever I hovered over a screen, which was basically all the time unless something was already playing. It hijacks the entire experience by automatically playing something new before the credits roll and automatically playing something when loading the homepage. It is always playing something. I didn't even know they had ads now. Good luck to them. Story 79. I don't subscribe to any streaming services except for Spotify. I used to download everything illegally. For a long time, I was navigating the internet and downloading anything and everything as it became available. There was no reason to pay for cable when a wealth of content was available for free with internet access. Then Netflix emerged. It was a platform where I could genuinely pay a reasonable monthly fee to access a vast library. I stopped pirating content with a Netflix subscription because it provided almost everything for that reasonable price. Streaming offered many movies I wanted to watch, and I could still view content that wasn't available on the platform if I ordered a DVD. Then companies started to branch off and leave Netflix. Now, to watch the shows and movies I want, I have to pay $325 a month for access to services where a show might be available, only for it to disappear whenever an executive decides it should no longer exist. That's frustrating. I'm back to downloading movies and TV shows illegally because I refuse to spend double my electric bill each month for the chance to watch something that could vanish at any moment. I would prefer to set up my old laptop as a server for files I download from torrent sites, ensuring I have those files as long as my backups hold out, which should be effectively forever given my backup management. The only reason I still subscribe to Spotify is because I agree with the statement that piracy is a service problem, not a cost problem. Spotify allows me access to all the music from every artist I want to hear. If I were to purchase that music, I would spend around $25,000 on albums and singles, but Spotify is just $10 a month, and I have been subscribed for over 10 years. That easily outweighs the cost of both purchasing physical copies and piracy, considering that music piracy still has its drawbacks despite the earlier platforms like Napster and LimeWire. Ultimately, I would be perfectly happy purchasing media on physical formats. I wouldn't mind paying $10 for a Blu-ray of a movie or $20 for a season of television. I would willingly pay $10 for an album from bands I care about because I genuinely want to support the artists. But I can't do that. Instead, if I want to support an artist or actor I like, I'm forced to subscribe to a streaming service that doesn't work as promised, wasting both time and money. In these situations, piracy becomes more appealing because it provides video files I can play on any TV or device that supports video playback. Additionally, there's no risk that if I download something, a rights holder's change will make the media I enjoy inaccessible. Story 80. You are not on your household Wi-Fi. Please reconnect to the household network. If you want to increase the price, let me watch wherever I want. Not everyone is always at home. Story 81. It mainly depends on how much I use the service and whether the content is still worth the extra cost. If the price increase isn't justified by new content or features, I will likely cancel and look for more affordable options. Story 82. I only have Netflix and Amazon Prime. I did not take other subscriptions as it was just too much. I miss maybe 1 or 2 shows from those services. Story 83. Sometimes their retention efforts are lacking. Netflix has never provided any offer when I've canceled. Stars offered a year for $20, while Hulu charges $2.99 per month. I wait for a collection of shows to watch on Netflix, then sign up for a month and cancel again, repeating the process. Story 84. I have had a continuous subscription to Netflix for almost 20 years. I am considering dropping it for the first time. There just isn't anything to watch anymore. I prefer Netflix over other streaming services because they do not focus solely on their own productions. However, the new content is mostly true crime and barely watchable originals. The obvious answer here is the lack of content I enjoy. Story 85. The only reason I still have Netflix is for WWE. Otherwise, I would go back to streaming it. I had the £3.99 package and they said I could keep it, but if I canceled, I would have to pay the updated price. They charged me more anyway, so now I have to pay £9 a month. Story 86. Honestly, Netflix with advertisements is a no-brainer. I switched a few months ago, and I seldom see advertisements, less than 1 ad per hour. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.